what's your objective for this prompt? Like, do you want to, like, if you were summarizing a document, what's the objective for the document summarization? What are you going to do with it? I've done a lot of frameworks. I built this one last week just because I thought it simplified everything. It was easy to remember and it had the core elements. I don't think it needs to be overly complicated, but here's how you prompt without prompting. Basically, you describe your objective. Just be like, hey, I need to create a presentation tomorrow, and provide as much context as possible. Like, I'm going to this event, I'm doing this thing, it's super last minute, I'm doing all this stuff. And then all you do is you just ask the chatbot to ask you one clarifying question at a time to gather as much context as possible to help you achieve your goal.
Carina Berkman, who's the founder of Markitect, also an AI trainer, also a public speaker, just a fantastic human. And I think we're going to leave today's session with a bunch of really practical insights on how to prompt AI best in 2025. Also, a quick shout out that if you're not aware, then we have our big conference happening next year on March the 19th. You'd be super welcome to join that. We call it Fireside Stories because it's not just about the theory. It's about bringing some stories, some practicality into some wonderful talks in the company of some great human beings. Also, before we get started, a big thank you to our sponsors. This week's featured sponsor is a company called Cambridge Marketing College. And I think a lot of folks will be familiar with the idea of apprenticeships, but they're our go-to recommended folks to think about apprenticeships, both from the training place, Anna's nailing it with the wave there, both from the training perspective, but also finding apprentices to bring into your business. So please do take the time to check out Cambridge Marketing College. Also, a big thank you to Wistia, Planable, Known, and Frontify. We'll speak about each of these companies on rotation a little bit more as the weeks go by, but needless to say, without these companies, we wouldn't be able to bring these sessions to you for free. I'm just going to say, Anna, it's over to you. Thank you for being such a legend and spending the time with us.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks for the intro. I was dancing to the music from the video.
It's good music. It's perfect. What you need on a Tuesday morning. So.
Okay, perfect. Okay, welcome everybody. It's already 9:36, and I know this is till 10:30. I want to leave a little bit of time for Q&A. So I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. Yes, you can take screenshots. I am going to provide all the slides to Joe at the end of this, so you will have them as well. Don't worry about that. I will be keeping an eye on the chat over here on my second screen. So yes, how to best prompt AI in 2025. It's dependent on a few things, like which platform you're using. If you're using a chatbot, I'm going to show you guys some great strategies. But also, I hope you will get peace of mind by knowing that prompting is kind of an evergreen AI skill. It hasn't really changed that much in the last couple of years since ChatGPT came out November 30th, 2022. And it probably won't change that much going forward. So if you can learn this skill, and I'm going to give you guys a couple hacks so it'll make it a lot easier for you, then you'll be just fine. Okay, so let's kick things off. Right, so a little bit about me. Joe gave me an introduction, but I am also a senior AI trainer with a company called AI for Non-Techies. They're awesome. You should check them out. I also have my own AI consultancy business. I'm the host of the Impossible Entrepreneur podcast, which as of tomorrow will have 250 episodes. I love creating frameworks to help people. I'm also a qualified architect, so my personal brand is Architect Anna. I'm a former chief marketing officer, so hey, marketing people out there, I understand your struggles. And I've also done acting and stunt training in the film industry, so love to keep it interesting. I've been working in Gen AI for over 2.5 years, and I try and make some of these, difficult subjects a little bit more fun for you guys and show you that you can use AI as a 24/7 success partner. Whatever it is that you want to achieve in your life, you absolutely can, and AI can help you get there. Okay, so just going to ask you guys a question. If you guys will let me know in a second. Just, this is going to be the schedule for the day. For the next 45 minutes. So first, it's generative AI and how we got here, just so you guys can learn a little bit more about the history and how that's led to where we are now. And then on to chatbots, prompt types, prompting like a pro, which you guys will be by the end of the day, and also how to build a prompt library, some chatbot personalization, which I think is kind of a missed feature that a lot of people just don't really look at. I'm going to help you out. And then also a take-home task and some homework for you guys, and then on to Q&A. I know, also stunt training. What? Okay, so question for you guys. Where are you at in your AI journey? What's your knowledge level? From 1 to 5 in the chat, where would you guys say you are? Oh, 3, 4, 2, 2, 2. Sorry, there's like 300 of you on this webinar. Oh, wait, so lots of twos, lots of dabbling, some integrators, some hungries. Yeah, have you guys had breakfast? I know you're all on the coffee. Awesome. 233, 333. Okay, hungry. Awesome, awesome. An 8. Oh my gosh. Coming back to that. I feel uncomfortable calling myself a 5, but yes, 4, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, solid. Okay, great. For those of you guys 3 and up, when would you say that AI started? Throw out some years, throw out some dates in time. When would you say that AI started? 2022, November 2022, decades, 2025, 2000, to the 60s, 90s, 20 years ago, 2021, 2024, 2060, 2050, 2020, no, 2050, 40s, 2020. Okay, cool. Okay, great. Lots of options out there. We're coming in from a lot of different perspectives. So there's not technically a right answer, and I'll explain that very briefly. So the answer is actually the 1950s. If any of you guys said 1950s, you are correct. So the term artificial intelligence was actually coined in 1956, but it was based on a paper written by Alan Turing, who is known as the father of AI, in 1950 about intelligent computers and machinery. But you could argue that it was a little bit before then because of what Alan Turing did in World War II. Have any of you guys seen the movie The Imitation Game? Yes, yeah, yeah. Okay. For those of you who haven't, that's extra homework. It's fun. Don't worry about it. So, in the imitation game, basically, the Germans had a cloaking device for their communication systems, and the Allies were trying to break that cloaking device with the best problem solvers in Great Britain. They brought them together, but the code reset every 24 hours, so they just couldn't do it. So, Alan Turing decided to build a machine that would be able to run through all the codes as much faster than the human brain, and he was able to crack the Enigma machine. Yes. And with that, it helped the Allies win World War II. So you could say that, like, artificial intelligence started before that. The reason I say some people would say that we don't even have it yet is because they are talking about AGI, which is artificial general intelligence or sentient AI. But if we're just talking about artificial intelligence, then yes, 1956 was when the term was coined. And the Turing test, which is made by Alan Turing, and it was originally named the Imitation Game, like the movie, is actually if you were to if a computer would be able to convince you that it was human, and that was actually passed in April. So you could say, like, anyways, no one is wrong. There's not technically a wrong answer, but the actual term was 1956. And the first ever chatbot was not ChatGPT. It was Eliza in 1966. I'm going to show you guys a recreated version of Eliza just so you can see how crazy it was from decades ago. But also, Eliza is a little bit of a gaslighter, so bear with me. Let's just show you what that looks like. So this is a recreated version of Eliza. She's a Rogerian psychotherapist chatbot. I'm just going to say, hello, it is nice to be chatting with you. Same to you. Can you help me? Question mark, psychotherapist. Is it that you would like to be able to help you? Yes? Question mark. I am dealing with difficult times. Do you believe it is normal to be dealing with difficult times? Anyways, she just goes in circles, to be honest. This is not my recommendation for chatbots, but here you go. And it's actually pretty amazing that this existed back in 1966. Blows your mind. But we didn't have the internet back then. So it's not like it was commonly used for people. Then we had a bit of a gap in the 70s and 80s, which is known as the AI winter, and things picked back up in the 90s. Have any of you guys heard of Deep Blue versus Kasparov? Yes, we got a couple yeses. Awesome. For those of you guys who haven't, Deep Blue was a supercomputer designed by IBM in the 1990s, and its objective was to beat the world chess champion in chess. And at the time, the world chess champion was Garry Kasparov. So in 1996, they went head to head, and Garry Kasparov won. The human won, but they rematched the next year in 1997, and Deep Blue, the supercomputer, won. And that kicked off a whole stream of things moving forward. In around the year 2000 was the development of machine learning. I'm guessing a lot of you guys watch Netflix. There's a lot of machine learning in Netflix. Whenever you watch a TV show or you watch a movie, it is learning from you, and then it is trying to give predictions based on what you would like next. Like, oh, you like this movie, you like this TV show, do you want to watch this? And it's not always perfect, but it's constantly trying to adapt, just like chatbots. So when you're working with chatbots, the more information and feedback you can give them, the better, because it is using machine learning. A couple other examples are email spam filters. If you shop on Amazon and it says people also purchased these things, of course, that's a great way to upsell and make the company more money, but it is also looking at data that they've previously collected from people who purchase this, also purchase this, because it's more likely that you would too. In the future, we'll have much more personalized storefronts based on all of your previous purchase and search histories, which is, of course, a little bit creepy, but it will mean that everything you look at will be personalized to you. So instead of it saying people also purchase this, it will be like, we think that you would also like this. So that's the type of machine learning. We moved to deep learning in around the year 2010, which is based on the neural networks of the human brain. When you think of artificial intelligence, it's artificial human intelligence. That's like a good way to think about it. And deep learning is looking at a lot of data really, really quickly. So that's like facial recognition, live translation, much more advanced. And those things pulled together create generative AI, which is what most people think is AI now. So generative AI is music, it's chatbots, it's audio, it's images, it's video, it's so many different things. I'm going to show you a couple examples today. And then, yes, the rise of generative AI and the release of ChatGPT in November 2022, and how everything else has progressed since then. I got started officially at the very beginning of February 2023, so very early in the process. Very early in the process for sure. Okay, so chatbots. What chatbots do you use or have you heard about? Drop them in the chat. I'm gonna have a sip of coffee. I'm a fast talker. ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Lido, I don't know that one. Gemini, Grok, Solid, yeah, Copilot, Gemini, Claude mainly, Perplexity, customer support chatbots, yeah, not as good. Gemini, Claude, Copilot, yeah, ChatGPT, great, Magic 8-Ball. I don't know that one. So there's a lot of different chatbots out there. And these is what I would say are the big 5 chatbots. But honestly, like there's also DeepSeek in China, there's French chatbots. There's so many that are like rolling out very, very quickly. But yes, if I had to break them down, I'll tell you like which one are slightly better at different things. But whichever chatbot you use, it's fine. You don't need to go and buy multiple chatbots. Just you can optimize the one that you currently have. I've got a school group, like I basically have a community group. If you've got questions after this about which one for which thing, let me know, just drop in. But yeah, ChatGPT is a great all-rounder. You can build your own custom assistants. You can look at public assistants. They have like all the chats. They have ways to organize those chats in projects. They've got lots of different modes you can select from. ChatGPT is pretty solid. I'm also going to show you advanced voice mode on the phone, which I really like to use. Claude, I would say, is the most human sounding or thoughtful chatbot. You don't have to tweak the copy as much to make it sound less robotic, but if you're good at prompting, you won't need to do that anyways. But Claude's definitely good with that, and it's also starting to connect to a bunch of external systems. Anytime you connect a chatbot, even if it's a paid one, you got to be careful of security risks when you're connecting like third parties or APIs. So just bear that in mind. I will try and drop in some risks and limitations throughout the day just to keep you guys safe. Gemini is Google's chatbot, and it's honestly advancing really quickly. They had a really cool image generation release a couple weeks ago called Nano Banana, and it's solid. It's solid. But also, it used to have the largest context window. The other ones are catching up. And a context window basically means in one chat, how much text can you actually talk about before it starts to forget or make things up. And if a chatbot makes things up, it's called a hallucination. It confidently says it, even if it's not true. And that happens about 15% of the time, which means, of course, that you guys have to check the outputs 100% of the time if they're factual. It's important with every single AI tool that you might use to have critical thinking. There are multiple key skills in like an AI driven future. Critical thinking is definitely one of them. And then we've got Copilot, which is the integrated one. There are a lot of companies that have very high security that only allow Copilot. It's not the best, but if it's the only one you have access to, you can still get a ton out of it. So don't worry if Copilot's the only one you're allowed to use. It's okay. It's okay. And then Perplexity, I don't really use as a chatbot in the way that I use the other ones. Perplexity, I use primarily for internet searches. And the great thing is you can ask it to organize things in a table, in bullet points, in really like whatever way you want to see information. And then you can chat with it. You can ask follow-up questions, which is like a lot more complicated if you're to do that just in Google. And you can check all of the sources, which critical thinking, you got to check all the sources. Yeah, the enterprise version of Copilot does have a lot more features. They have agents. They're not actually like agentic AI. They're basically like custom GPTs or AI assistants. They've got one that's a researcher and an analyst. You can generate presentations, not as good as some of their presentation tools like Gamma, but you can generate images. It's doing its best. It's doing its best, Copilot. Okay, so moving on. what is prompting? I've been talking about prompting. Hopefully, you guys know a little bit about it, but it's basically the instructions that you give to an LLM in a conversational way. So, a lot of these tools are built on NLP, and that's not neural linguistic programming, that is natural language processing, acronyms these days. And it basically means that you can speak to it like you would any other friend. It's doing its best, it is. And an LLM stands for a large language model. And if you think about a chatbot, the space that you're actually typing in, that's the interface. But the thing that is powering the chatbot, that's the large language model. So if you were driving a car, you driving the car sitting in the driver's seat, that is the chatbot. But the engine is actually the thing that is powering the car. That's the large language model. So when we think about like how these things work, we're actually thinking about the LLM. Okay, so here are some examples of bad prompting, because to know what good prompting is, sometimes we have to know what like bad looks like. Don't worry, I'm guilty of these bad prompting things as well. That's how I know that they're bad. So yeah, summarize this document for me in 5 key points. An LLM, it will do that. It will do that, but it's going to be quite vague. You could give it so much more context about specifically what you were trying to get from this document or your objectives for what you're going to use the summary for, and then it will produce the information in a much, much better way. Okay, write this email to be more engaging. I've done worse than this. I've just said, write this better. Anyone else? Anyone else? But yeah, write this email to be more engaging. It will do it, but like it's missing a lot of context again, which is who's the email to, what's the email for, what's your style and tone that you would like to add in. Are you trying to have a professional tone? What's the objective? Like, let's say it's a sales email, right? And you've been, chasing this client for a couple months, trying to get them to close. So you're like, okay, I need this email to close. I don't want to be too pushy. I want to be like kind of friendly and professional, but also I need to push this across the line. Can you draft something for me to look over? Then yes, that would be a lot clearer. And then of course, give me 5 ideas for LinkedIn posts on leadership. Yeah, if you do this, you're going to sound like everyone else who has generated that exact same prompt. And there's so much more you could add into it. You could add in who's your target demographic? What's your objective for the LinkedIn post? What's your call to action? Is it to send you a DM? Is it to comment and like? Is it to follow you? What's your industry? What's your job role? What are you doing? What are your leadership objectives? Are you trying to be a thought leader? I think adding all of that in is super useful. And honestly, like if you take away anything from today and it is only that you need to add in more context and that's what you start to do, then it is a win. It is a win. But yeah, I think over time we learned how to use Google well, like restaurant near me. We learned that that was the way to speak to Google, but now it's shifting. The way that we need to speak to chatbots to get the most out of them is completely different. And the last point, which is too broad and unclear, which is kind of like summarize this document for me in 5 key points or give me 5 ideas for LinkedIn posts on leadership. It's too broad. It's not specific enough. That's not going to help you get the best results. With the exception, if you are doing idea generation or brainstorming, too broad and like having a very simple prompt can actually be a good thing because you don't add in your own bias and perspective. And it might think of things completely out of the box that you have not considered at all, which can be really useful. And then what you do is you start with a funnel, you start with a very basic prompt, and then you just add in a little bit of context each time until you get to the end result. And the thing is, even if you produce a fantastic prompt and you use it, and then the chatbot responds to you, that is still only step one in the process. From there, you need to use critical thinking, use your own expertise and creativity, and look at the output and determine whether or not you think it's good enough. What's not good enough about it? What do you like? What do you not like? Think of machine learning, feed back to it, give it some feedback so it can do better. Start the conversation. Like, think of this tool as your 24/7 success partner. It is there to help you. It is not going to get tired. It's not going to judge you. It's not going to get worried about talking about a topic for too long. So just use it there at your disposal. Anna, your British accent bit is fantastic. Keep it coming, please. I don't even know when I'm doing it. I just do it for the lulz. um, okay, great. So that's a little bit of bad prompting. And there are so many different prompt types. This is not an exhaustive list. I have not done all of these. I'm from a non-technical background, like I'm an architect. I've done random things, as I told you guys. So I haven't really got into coding. There is a whole section on vibe coding or no code platforms where you basically just use natural language to describe what you're looking for. So if you are super creative, but you're not tech minded, you could still create websites and apps now, but we're not going to dive into that today too much. So yeah, there's a lot of different types of prompts you can do. Content creation, I feel like, is a well-known one. creating, LinkedIn posts is one thing, or email sequences, or script outlines, or any of that, or even just like ad scripts for businesses. Translation has gotten a lot better. Honestly, like I'm doing a talk for an entire translation network of translators, and they've been massively hit by AI. So I'm trying to show them, but give them some hope. Give them some hope. But yeah, translation is a massive use case, which can be helpful, especially if you're a small business and you want to reach other markets, but you just can't afford to do that across the board. You can translate your emails, you can translate videos, you can translate audio. It's amazing. So I'm just going to show you one, which is simulation, and simulations are so good. So if you're a business owner, part of business that we all know is cash flow is key, and part of cash flow is making sales. Even if you don't like sales, I was not a huge sales fan, but it was a skill that I needed to learn. And so simulations can be great. You can do live voice mode with an AI and actually simulate objection handling because it's an uncomfortable process. Or if you're a manager and you've got team members that aren't performing right and you know that you have to have a difficult conversation with them, you can simulate that conversation beforehand. And even better, you can drop in your HR documents into the chatbot and then have it give you feedback from an HR perspective once the simulation is complete. Ooh, okay. Let me open it up. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it. So I've got ChatGPT on my phone. I think I've got like 5 different AI apps on my phone. Fun times. And then I've got advanced voice mode. So when it turns blue, we know it's working.
Feel free to let me know what you need, and we can dive right in.
Amazing. Can you say hello to all these wonderful people from the marketing meetup?
Absolutely. Hello to all you wonderful folks at the Marketing Meetup. I hope you're all having a fantastic time and that the rest of your event goes brilliantly.
Can you also translate that into French?
Of course. So in French, that would be Bonjour à vous tous, formidable participants of this round of marketing. I hope you're passing an excellent moment, and kindly the rest of your event sounds like it's going to go great.
That was the French. What? Honestly, the advanced voice mode since the update to GPT-5 has been glitchy, but that's also a good example because AI is imperfect. And you, of course, need to check these things. But yeah, its accent used to be so much better. Once I did a simulation about like 8 months ago, and I did a Russian, and then I had it switch to French, but it did French in a Russian accent, and that was crazy. You never know what's going to come out of generative AI. It's like but it can be great. So you can do simulations voice to voice, or you can do them voice to text, whichever. A good example is if you create an awesome simulation prompt, you drop it in on your desktop and then you switch over to your phone and you do voice to voice that way. I also really like to do voice to text on my phone. So one of the things I'll show you guys is getting the chatbot to ask you questions with reverse prompting. So it'll ask you questions and you'll give it answers, and then you answer the questions on your phone. Try and keep it under 2 minutes, otherwise it might not transcribe. And it makes the process way easier, at least for me. I'm not a huge type fan. Okay, so yeah, there's tons of different things that you can do. These are just a few prompt types out there. So image generation, we're not gonna like dive into image generation too much, but image generation prompting is a little bit different than chatbot prompting. So I'm gonna show you guys a free platform called Ideogram. And can someone give me a color? Blue, okay, blue. A blue, okay, now give me an animal. A blue tiger, okay. A blue tiger, okay, running, walking, standing, jumping, scurrying, leaping. Okay, blue tiger leaping over the moon, a boat, a plane, a mountain, water, uh, leaping through, okay, through a mountain. Okay, we'll see what happens. I don't really know. Okay, what time of day is it? Sunrise, sunset? What are you feeling? What are the vibes? Dusk. Okay, dusk. Anything else happening in the picture? Is there stuff falling from the sky? Are there things happening around? Dusk with a full moon. Moon. Okay, and snow. Okay, it's raining men. Hallelujah. Okay, great. I'm gonna leave it there. Oh, and aliens are landing. Okay, and aliens are landing. The cool thing about generative AI is it can pull together concepts that don't necessarily like make sense together, because it is just generating something completely new. So when it comes to idea generation, like business ideas, it's awesome. One of the first things I ever asked a chatbot back at the start of 2023 was, what is the most searched business ideas that don't exist? And I was like, let's just see what it comes up with. And basically it said teleportation device, invisibility cloak, time machine. I was like, okay, fair enough. I thought I was gonna like win big in the job in the business market. And I was like, nope, I can't do that. Okay, let's see what it came up with. We've had some success with Midjourney. Yeah, Midjourney is, I think, still the best image generation tool, but it is now like paid. Okay, is that a turtle? Is that a turtle alien? Are those men? Are those men? I'm so confused. It's trying. Okay. Okay, aliens. I don't see the raining men bit. Also, you gotta count the number of legs. They have 4 legs, 4 legs, 4 legs. Okay, there's men and aliens. I guess it's happening. Great. Things are happening, and they all have the right number of limbs. Cool. The reason I generated this picture for the slides is because her hands are messed up, and I wanted to show you guys that because I think that's important. Because when you have critical thinking, it's a lot easier to have critical thinking with images because we can see the flaws. We can actually see them. But with text, you actually need to try a little bit harder and like search for the sources. So the other cool thing about ideogram, and then I'll just move on from image generation prompting, is they have this homepage. So if you like an image, let's just go to this one. If you like an image, you can click on it, and over here on the right, you can see prompt. And then, oh, that's actually a really short prompt. And you can copy the prompt in and recreate it yourself. But let's see if I can find one with a longer prompt. Let's see about this one. Cool. So then, yeah, this one has a very long prompt. With like image prompting, you can say the type of lens you want. You can say the style that you want. There are tons of things that you can add into image prompting, but it's not the same structure as it is for text prompts. And the other cool thing, since this platform is free, you can look at people, you can look at products, and you can check the prompts for each of these. Since I don't have time to teach you, I'm just showing you where you can learn. Nature, again, you can look at those prompts, posters, logos, t-shirts. You can look at all the prompts there, click on the image, go to the right, look at the prompt, repurpose it if you like. Cool. So this is the COCO framework. If you want to write this down, this will be helpful. Basically, these are the core elements of a solid prompt that you would put into a chatbot. So the first thing is character, then objective, then context, then output. So for character, you want to give the chatbot a character. When you think about a large language model, you're thinking about like all of human history and human knowledge, sort of, as well as like 80% of the internet. And you giving it a character assignment kind of gives it GPS coordinates for which data set to pick from. So if you're like, I want you to act as an expert physical therapist and nutritionist because I'm working on a meal plan and workout schedule, then it will know that it needs to look at its data set on physical therapists and nutritionists. So you'd be like, cool, I've assigned it a character. Also, telling it who you are to add more context is really valuable. So one character assignment for the AI and one for you. Character is key. Next is objective. What's your objective for this prompt? Like, do you want to, like, if you were summarizing a document, what's the objective for the document summarization? What are you going to do with it? So give it your goals, give it the objective, and that might only be one sentence, but it's still really useful. Then context. You can just ramble for days in context. You can drop in extra documents if you've got your own tone of voice. If you've got examples of the type of work that you're trying to create, drop those in, drop them in. Examples are really beautiful, but context is super key. And I'm going to show you guys a hack to get as much context as possible. And then output. That's very simply like, what do you want the structure to be? So if you're saying, give me 5 LinkedIn posts, do you want the post to have a title? Do you want them to have a hook? Do you want them to have 3 bullet points and a call to action and hashtags? What is the specific format or structure that you would like out of it? So yes, the COCO framework. Yay! Knowledge is knowing Frankenstein wasn't the monster. Wisdom is knowing he was. Ayo, you got that right, Patrick. I've done a lot of frameworks. I built this one last week just because I thought it simplified everything. It was easy to remember and it had the core elements. I don't think it needs to be overly complicated to build a good prompt. Like you don't need to have like a 10-step formula. 4 steps is good. If it's easy to remember, even better, because then people might actually use it. So yeah, COCO. Okay, great. So for example, I'm going to show you guys a prompt and I'll show you how I've broken it down with just in the COCO framework, so you can see that how it's broken. This is like not a very long prompt, and I think the reason people don't write very long prompts in general is because the chatbot window is so small. It's not your fault. It's like very small. People don't normally type that long, which is why I also don't like doing that. So I usually do voice to text, or I'll type my prompts in another document and then I'll paste them in. Oh, Coco's the name of your dog. Amazing. So yeah, for character, act as a senior presentation strategist who helps marketing teams turn complex content into clear, compelling slides. I am a marketing manager. So we got 2 character assignments. Character. Okay. And need help creating a professional presentation. So the objective is create a professional presentation. Now the context. Ask me one question at a time to understand who the audience is, what the key message is or goal is, what content I already have, any data, visuals, or structured performance, time limits or specific formats needed, and then the output. Once you have this info, give me the outline, the slides, help me outline the slides, recommend visuals, and suggest key speaking points, keep the tone aligned with industry standards, professional, clear, and informative. So the reason this prompt is a little bit shorter is because of this very key sentence right here. Ask me one question at a time to understand. So instead of you adding in all the context originally, you get the chatbot to do the heavy lifting and ask you one question at a time, do a little bit of reverse prompting. You give it the answers, it will get all the context it needs from you, and then it will produce an even better result. So you can add this in originally, and you can honestly add that sentence into any prompt to make it better because it will follow up with one question at a time before it starts with you. And don't worry, you'll get the slides that you can like use this prompt if you'd like. Great, yes, presentation outlining. And then you can have another prompt which critiques the outline of this, like be a presentation critic. From this angle, I'm doing this presentation for this giant audience. Please be super critical. Honestly, sometimes chatbots can keep you in like an echo chamber of yourself and be very sycophantic. So getting them to be critical of you, following up with critical questions is really valuable. And sometimes chatbots are lazy. They can be very lazy. So you can just be like, especially if you drop in documents, just be like, did you miss anything? Have you forgotten anything? Are you sure about that? And it'll be like, yeah, sure. And sometimes when they're lazy with documents, one of the best hacks for that is drop in the documents first and ask the chatbot to categorize or index the documents, and then it will actually have to read through all of them. Some of these big AI companies are trying to save on their like data center energy usage by batching files and not actually doing all the heavy lifting with the work. So, okay, cool. Great. Right. Okay. So, timing wise, this is still going to work. Okay. What I want you guys to do is in your chatbot of choice, try and create a very, very quick COCO Framework chatbot. Prompt, COCO Framework prompt, and have it create a joke about the marketing industry. You've got maximum 5 minutes. Let's try and get them in by 10:10. So you got 3 minutes. So who's the character? It could be a comedian from Live at the Apollo, Michael McIntyre. What's the objective? A marketing industry joke. What's the context? Up to you. And then what's the output? Could be a knock-knock joke, could be like a haiku type joke. Entirely up to you. But yeah, put these bits together and generate. It could just be one sentence per step. Generate a joke. You work in marketing. Wait, you work in marketing when your therapist says, let's unpack that. And you immediately ask, what's the target audience? A. Now, the good question here is, do you guys think the jokes are good enough? If you don't, just be like, do better. Not good enough. Not funny. That's a dad joke. I don't want a dad joke. I want a joke. No offense to dads. I do dad jokes all the time. Why did the marketer bring a puppy to the meeting? Because they heard that being lovely can also be a great way to generate positive brand engagement. I see what you did there, Joe. Okay, great. So they're coming in. You guys will have the chance to go through. Amazing. I once heard a psychotic, what? I once hired a psychotic goat to predict our campaign ROI. It just kept chewing the budget and whispering rebrand. Typical. We're all marketers here. It's okay, guys. Safe space. Keep the jokes coming. You guys can look at the jokes in the chat, but let's move on. All right, great. So I'm not going to have time to run this prompt, but it's just, I will explain to you guys again, and you'll have this so you can run it for yourself. Honestly, it could change your life. I was going to run it and then share like all the embarrassingness about my life. But basically, this one is a personalized health prompt. So in case you don't want to pay for a physical therapist or anything like that, or not a physical therapist, a personal trainer, this could be great. Act as a certified nutritionist and personal trainer who specializes in creating realistic, personalized fitness and meal plans for busy individuals like you guys. You are highly experienced in adapting plans to person's lifestyle, goals, and preferences, whether that's losing weight, building muscle, boosting energy, or improving overall well-being. So that's the character. Your goal is to help me create a customized weekly workout routine and meal plan that I can realistically follow and enjoy. You will do this by asking me one question at a time to understand me better. Cool. So objective, context, output. It's very good. Once I asked a chatbot to give me a 20-minute strength building workout that didn't make me sweat, and it did it. It did it. So whatever you ask for, it can do. It can absolutely do it. So yeah, you guys will have this to run through another time. Totally fine. And then I'm just going to tell you guys a little bit about lazy prompting. So yes, you can create the structured prompt with the COCO framework, 100%. But here's how you prompt without prompting. Basically, you describe your objective. Just be like, hey, I need to create a presentation tomorrow, and provide as much context as possible. Like, I'm going to this event, I'm doing this thing, it's super last minute, I'm doing all this stuff. Cool, that's your objective. Like, this is like, it understands the context of that situation. And then all you do is you just ask the chatbot to ask you one clarifying question at a time to gather as much context as possible to help you achieve your goal. So you're like, okay, I'm you're just in voice mode. Right, I've got this presentation tomorrow. I'm speaking to 200 people. It's 30 minutes. It's going to be like 5 to 10 slides. Can you ask me one clarifying question at a time to gather as much context about the situation to help me achieve my goal of getting this presentation done in the next hour? And it'll be like, yeah, of course I can. Here's the first question. And then you answer the question one at a time, provide as much context as possible, and then it will help you with the presentation. It could be that you just want to work through it. You want to produce the outline. You maybe want some confidence building. You guys can ask it to create visualization exercises for you before big stuff. Be like, yeah, great. I've got the presentation now. Now it's all just about nerves. What do I do? And it's like, okay, great. Let's build a visualization exercise together. And it's like, what would be helpful for you? You build the visualization exercise. You're like, cool. Now I'll just have this ready to go before the presentation, and I will be super confident. It'll be super confident. Anyways, and then basically answer each question one at a time, provide extra context, review the chatbot's output with critical thinking, of course. And then that's where the real work begins, when you really start the discussion and pull out everything you need from it. But yeah, lazy prompting, solid. Give it the objective, ask it to ask you one clarifying question at a time to get as much context as possible. Begin. That is it. Right. Next. So building reusable prompts saves this entire process that you don't have to do it. And basically, you go through it one by one. And instead of the objective being to create a presentation, the objective is to create a reusable prompt for something that you do really regularly. So take a moment to think about things that you do in your work or your life that are super repetitive and time consuming and maybe annoying. Is there a way that like you could run it through a chatbot to make it much, much faster? If you have to produce presentations really regularly or create reports or even like client emails, it could be that you've got a prompt with your tone of voice and everything you need in it to make it faster. Okay, so you just want to, again, identify the problem of the task. Like, what is it that you're trying to achieve on a regular basis? Set a clear objective for the prompt, and then ask the chatbot to help you build a reusable prompt by starting asking you one clarifying question at a time to gather as much context as possible. You see, it's a hack, it's good. To help you achieve your goal, you can ask it to create the prompt in the COCO framework if you like. It will create it in whatever way it finds best. And you can always say, can you make the prompt more extensive or can you shorten it? Entirely up to you. Then you review the prompt creation and test it. Make sure you don't just like copy and paste it and use it somewhere else. Just like actually run it to make sure it works. If it doesn't get the output that you want specifically, just be like, oh, actually, it doesn't look quite right. I want it to be more like this, and then it'll change it. And once you're happy with the output, you'll be like, great. Now, based on this output, can you now update the prompt to match this desired output? It'll update the prompt. Then that is something that you can reuse. Okay. Then you save the completed prompt and you can start building your own prompt library of reusable prompts. Amazing. And this leads straight on to building a prompt library. So start with real use cases. I'm not going to dive into these too much because I want to make sure I've got time for Q&A. Write clear goal-driven prompts so that they can be used over and over again. Use the chatbot to help you out if you want to do some lazy prompting, not a problem. Test in some real workflows, as long as you're using a secure chatbot and what you're putting in is not overly sensitive data. Depends on the chatbot. I'll get into that. And then iterate and refine it as needed. It's not a fixed document. It's not static. Consider that you're going to probably have to update your prompt library every quarter at least. So check it. It's not something that just sits there like a lot of things in business. No problem, Susan. Thank you. You'll have the replays. And then get feedback from others. Have other people test the prompt, see if they can break it, and then build it back stronger. And then just review and improve regularly, and then build a prompt library. That can literally just be a Google Doc that you copy and paste from. Not really a problem. Would you build a prompt library in the project section of ChatGPT? If not, how do you store these in the AI? Yeah, you could build them in the project in a project in ChatGPT in a document, but honestly, I find it easier just to copy and paste from external source. If you're in Copilot, because of the security systems, you might not be allowed to copy and paste stuff. Advanced Copilot has a notebook, just like Google Notebook LM, and you can keep everything within a notebook. They also have a prompt gallery, but it's okay. Yeah, projects in Claude is more like custom GPTs in ChatGPT than projects in ChatGPT, which are more like folders. Anyways, it's cool. You guys, if you, like I said, if you've got questions after this, drop them in the school, like pick my brain, whatever, it's totally fine. So yeah, personalization. I'm going to show you guys how to personalize a chatbot. I feel like this is a key thing that a lot of people are missing. Yes. Joe's trying to help me out with the answers. Okay, so you can curate your chatbot's memory, whether you don't want memory turned on or you want it turned on, but you want to curate what exactly it remembers, you can do that. I'm going to show you how. Tell it about yourself so it has that context. Give it some guidelines, like I need it to write in British English. Remove the M dash. My goodness, so many times I've told it, no M dash. Those of you who know, you know. No emojis, that kind of thing. Use pounds instead of dollars. I live in London. It is what it is. And then customize the style and tone. Be like, I want you to like speak to me very friendly, but also be critical of me, keep me grounded as normally. AI loves them M dashes. They really, really do. So let me show you some personalization real quick, just so you can get all the value. This is my ChatGPT. Hey. So I just have the Plus account. So first things first, go to your settings, and this is like a number one thing. Go to your data controls and make sure that you have improved the model for everyone switched off. Even if you are on a paid plan, that does not mean that your chats are not being used for training data. You need to go into your settings and actually switch them off. So switch them off here, switch them off. Great. And then in personalization, you can actually have the chatbot personality. So I went with nerd, exploratory, and enthusiastic. I've given it custom instructions, purpose and role, acting as a strategic thought partner, content strategist, creative collaborator, whatever you need. Tone and style, structure and format, all of that stuff. Love it. I told it a little bit about me, also more about me. Da-da-da-da-da. I'm trying to use the negative speak to see if that helps remove the M dashes. Before I said that I would fine it $200, but honestly, that didn't really work. So you can personalize a lot of these settings here. Don't worry, the next slide, I'm going to show you how. And then also you can manage your memory. So in the memory, I've got tons of memory because I've been using ChatGPT for ages. It will just keep going. But in the memory, you can just delete the memory if you don't want it in there. You can also switch off reference saved memories and reference chat history. And if you really want to just make sure it's not remembering anything, even if you have memory on, just use a temporary chat and it won't remember stuff, which is good. So if you guys want to build custom instructions for yourself, you absolutely can. I've built a special prompt for you so that you can use it to, it'll ask you one question at a time to gather your needs. And it's a maximum of 1,500 characters. If it's above that, just ask it to shorten it. It'll build your custom instructions. Then you copy and paste them into ChatGPT, or Copilot also has custom instructions. I don't think Gemini does. And Claude only has them in the memory section. They're not actually custom instructions. So yeah, ChatGPT or whatever. If you're going to use them in Copilot, just make sure you switch out ChatGPT for Copilot. And then you guys can use this to build out your own custom instructions. Great. So I have kind of talked a little bit about risks and limitations. I'm just going to touch on these very briefly. Honestly, I've done an entire day workshop just on this slide. These tools have more than 40 different types of bias in them. They are trained mostly on Western data. They are trained on outdated data. They are absorbing the internet. They are not necessarily pulling from information that is verified and accurate. A lot of the sources it's pulling from are Reddit, because the easiest way for LLMs to absorb information is with a simple Q&A, which is like, here's the question, here's the answer, which is a lot on Reddit. And also, if you guys have ever heard of GEO or AEO, because you've probably heard of SEO, if you want to rank in a chatbot or in an answer engine like at the top of Google, then the best way to do that at the moment is having FAQs on your website, because for LLMs, it's easy to read questions and answers. So with that in mind, all of these tools, they have a ton of bias in them. If you were to go into an image generator and you said generate a doctor, it'd probably be a guy. Generate a nurse, probably be a girl. Generate a business owner, probably a middle-aged white man in a suit. These tools have bias. You need to have critical thinking and check them. You need to make sure you have data training switched off. They do hallucinate about 15% of the time. Critical thinking is key. Plagiarism, it's a whole thing. Probably don't have time to get into that. And then sustainability. Yes, these AI tools do use energy. A lot of the energy usage is from the model training, not the actual individual user. There are ways to like lighten them, and actually good prompting will save energy because it will mean that you have less wasted prompts. So that's a little bit on risks and limitations. Here's your homework. Oh, wait, no. Here's the lessons learned. Good prompts take a while to write, but AI can help you create them faster. When they work, you can use them over and over again. You can build a prompt database or library to save time in the future. You can create custom instructions for your chatbot for extra personalization, which you guys will have in the slides. And always check for bias and hallucinations. Use critical thinking when you work with AI, because AI is your 24/7 success partner. How do you turn data training in ChatGPT? Go into your settings, go into data controls, and then switch off, improve the model for everyone. This is you guys' homework. I'm going to drop it in the chat now, and then I can start taking questions. And we've got 9 minutes for questions. Sorry, that was kind of like a fire round, but hopefully you got plenty of information. Let me try and can I not paste anything in the chat? Oh
You
man.
should be able to. If you can't, I'll make sure that it goes
Yeah,
out
you
in
guys will have
the
the
follow-up.
slides later.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, I can't paste that in the chat. Sorry. If you take a screenshot, you can drop the screenshot into a chatbot and have it transcribe it. It can transcribe from images, just as a hack. But otherwise, yes, I'm happy to take questions. Of course, if you guys have questions that I missed today and you want to pick my brain, join my school group. It's totally free. It's just getting started, so not a lot of activity in there, but I'd love to help, and I want to funnel all my help into one place. Otherwise, connect with me on LinkedIn. To questions. Questions. Have a sip of coffee. Like you should see me like when I've already like a couple hours into having coffee. I've only just started.
This is the warm-up session. You nailed it, Anna. Thank you
This is
so,
the
so
warm
much.
up for the day. I know I've got
Um,
a couple more lives today.
oh my
And breathe and
God.
scene.
We got Rob saying, tell us your
Oh, thank
energy
you guys.
secrets. But you're getting so much praise here, Anna, in the chat. And like there was so much there. And even if I would, when you said the scale at the beginning, I'd probably be like a 4, but there was stuff in there which I learned and took an awful lot away from, which is credit for you and how you covered every base. So thank you so, so much. Let's take the questions. I'm going to be choiceful in the ones we choose, not just take them from the top today, because some have been covered. Others will be best pointed at other resources. So I think you've covered Melanie's top question around choosing a platform at the beginning. Likewise, we've got a question here from Rachel about appearing in Gen AI search. I'm going to direct Rachel at our previous events because we spent 2 hours on AEO and GEO quite recently. So we'll take those out. So let's head into the next one, which says, do you create custom GPTs for regular tasks or stick to your prompt library? So you may need to define custom
Yeah,
GPTs
sure.
up front for folks, but then
Sure. Yeah, I'll do this through visuals. So for those of you guys who don't know, like this is going to be your regular chat. Your regular chats are going to sit here. You can organize chats into projects in ChatGPT. Like there's multiple different platforms I've got open, but we won't have time to go through them. These are custom GPTs. So they're for something that is maybe a bigger task that requires a little bit more instruction and training. Usually custom GPTs have a lot of knowledge files, like at least 10 really good knowledge files. The cool thing is you can explore custom GPTs that are quite public. So if you have ADHD, there's ADHD companions. They've got math tutors if you've got kids. They've got storytellers. They've got marketing ones if you need help with Excel. There's literally custom GPTs for everything. You can see how many people are using them. The way that I build custom GPTs is for very specific bottlenecks because it takes like building a GPT, custom GPT, is nothing. It takes no energy whatsoever, except the knowledge files take ages. So you put a lot of instructions in. Again, this is a small window, but the instructions can be multiple pages long. And then the knowledge files are super key. So I'm building one for my content creation efforts. I post a video reel every single day on 4 different social media platforms. And I finally have like the structure. I've gotten, like over 1,000 viral hooks. And so I've got like the hooks, I've got the order that it needs to ask me questions in to build content, to confirm the topics first, and then confirm the next step and the next step. If you have something that has multiple workflow steps, yeah, you would want to go with a custom GPT. If it's a more like 1 to 3 step process, I would just say create like a prompt workflow in a booklet. It's just going to be easier. You might have a prompt that's like research this thing. And you would have it go into deep research and do some research for you. And then it'd be like, analyze the research for inaccuracies, and be like, cool. And it'd be like, draft a document, cool. And they'd be like, cool, check the document, great. So you might have like a 4-step prompt there rather than have it in a custom GPT. That's kind of an answer.
Love
But yeah,
it.
if you have a lot of knowledge files, then it could be great just to build them into a custom GPT. Like if you've got ones and you've written a lot of work, build one and it just might be your tone of voice, custom GPT. The instructions are basically like adapt any document I dropped in, and it like adapt it to my tone of voice. And it could do that. So it's usually better when it has a very clear direction, though.
Mhm. Perfect. And it's kind of a follow on, but might not be as well. So there's a question here from Sarah who says, one thing that would be great for my team is using AI to analyze multiple documents. So a little bit like what we've just been speaking about. But GPT isn't great with lots of data in my experience. So any suggestions? Is that covered off with the custom GPT stuff, or would you take it in a different direction?
I mean, so data analysis is like a tricky one because like it can miss things. And like I said, the chatbots can be lazy. A way
Mm-hmm.
around that is just have it index or categorize the entire document first.
Yep.
And it will take a while. It'll take a while to do it, but then you at least know that it's read through it correctly. And then once you ask it for whatever analysis you're looking for, then you just maybe 3 times say, did you miss anything? Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Also spot check the document yourself. But generally after a couple times of saying like, did you miss anything? It's like, oh yeah, I did. Here you go. But if you have it do the original indexing first, it's less likely to do that.
Love that. That's perfect. Thank you. Let's take the next question from Chloe, because this is your opportunity, hopefully, to speak about your school as well, which I want to make sure that we highlight again before folks drop off. So we've got Chloe here who says lots of here are obviously keen to learn more about AI and have been getting stuck into it. For businesses where we have people at varying stages of acceptance or adoption, what would you say is the best place for someone to start a sensible progression of learning? And Chloe's kindly pointed to the TMM School of AI, but I'd love you to point to yours, and then any additional resources that you may point people to when they're learning.
Yeah, sure. So I'm also a senior AI trainer with AI for Non-Techies. They have like a massive academy. It's only 25 pounds per month. They also have like a Become an AI Trainer program. They've got a mastermind program. They've got so many different levels depending on like your budget and your interest. So AI for Non-Techies, like I train in there. I train for them. I do the live sessions with them. So like I'm in there quite regularly, helping out people. My school group is called Architect of Your Life. So if you are really trying to build something epic with your life and you need support and you need direction and you need strategy and creativity, that would be where the school group would go. If you just want to learn, like you want to level up with AI literacy, it's not in the school group yet. I'm going to be building resources as people need them in the school group. I just started it. I just started it, but I want to build it. So definitely I want to like help people make some incredible dreams happen. Cause like I'm not gonna lie, my journey has been pretty crazy, but it's actually pretty much all been planned. I created a 60-year plan when I was 17, and I am the architect of my life. So that's the school group. But if you just want to learn like AI literacy specifically, I would say go for AI for non-techies.
Love that so much. That's fabulous as an answer. I want to pick up on a chat comment, and then we'll do a catch-all question, which is coming from Mike, which I think is a great one. So I just want to pick up on the comment from Stacey, who says this might be the best webinar I've ever attended. So thank you, Anna. And so
Can I get these comments screenshotted?
totally, I will be sending them to you afterwards. Absolutely. And I want Anna to be my friend, please. So
We are friends.
so let's take this last question from Mike, because I think it's a lovely way to sort of sum up some of the lessons from today. So Mike says, what separates intermediate from expert level prompting? And I might add in beginner there. So beginner, intermediate, and expert, if you were to sort of summarize relatively high level, what separates each level?
I'd say the highest level is going to be like the extreme follow-up and like the very extreme add-on of like critical thinking to a high level. Like you can be good at prompting, but if you don't do those extra steps, you're going to be missing a lot. I think people will prompt well sometimes, but then they're okay with the output and they don't do what they need to do with machine learning and give feedback and really take time to determine what they think is good, what they think is bad, and then just take those extra steps. It's a big problem I see in schools. I also speak and train in schools. And I think like that critical thinking, problem solving element is potentially going to be lost for a certain part of the population. So for the highest level, like holding fast to your own creativity, expertise, intelligence, creative thinking, critical thinking, problem solving skills, all very beautiful. Um, the lower level would be like you're doing good prompting, but you don't necessarily add that in. And then I guess say like for a beginner, you're working with it to solve super basic problems, but you don't realize that it can do like thousands and thousands of things to completely change your life.
Love that. A perfect way to sum up the session. And thank you so much. Like I know that you've done an admirable job of keeping an eye on the comments as well in the chat throughout the duration, and so hopefully you can see so many lovely people saying thank you. And so you know, thank you to you, and thank you to them as well. You know, thank you to everyone who's shown up today and been quite as
Guys,
wonderful as you have
you've
been.
invested your time in your learning, your education, your upskilling, which means you're going to be so much better off
Absolutely.
in like the way that our world is changing so rapidly. So really like bravo to you guys. Give yourself like a pat on the back, round of applause.
100%, 100%. I love it. Right. Thank you so much, Anna. We should we promised 9:30 to 10:30. We did 2 minutes extra, so we'll bring today to a close. But thank you for being wonderful. Thank you to the community for being wonderful. I'll also say verbally rather than visually, thank you to Cambridge Marketing College and all of our sponsors for supporting our community as you do. If you're ever interested in apprenticeships, head to Cambridge Marketing College. Last things from me, we've just added in a new session all about AI and the law. So what marketers need to know, which is coming at the end of the month. So that's brand new. So if you haven't seen that, do sign up for that session in a few weeks' time. And with all that said, I'll just leave you to have a lovely, lovely Tuesday. So thank you, everyone. You're absolutely wonderful. And we hope to see you next week for our next session. Take care.